When a teen went diving with his GoPro camera, he accidentally solved a 27-year-old mystery. In August 2019, 13-year-old Max Werenka noticed a mysterious object deep beneath the water at Griffin Lake Cabins, a popular holiday spot in British Columbia, Canada. Curious about the unknown object in the lake, the teenager dove deep into the murky water with his GoPro, and to his surprise, he unraveled a 27-year-old mystery. 13-year-old Max Werenka has always been a curious child. I always liked to question things, he told CTV News. So when he realized that he had found something in the lake, his curiosity was piqued in ways he could have never imagined. But was he aware that what he had stumbled upon was a lot more gruesome than he could have ever anticipated? The young man wasn't looking to solve a mystery or a potential crime when he went on a boat ride on Griffin Lake, but fate had set him on that path anyway. So with destiny on his shoulder, he went out to see what was out there, not realizing he was going to find more than he bargained for. The family spent every summer on their boat at the same lake, so they were extremely familiar with the area. But they were to be shocked one day when they noticed something out of the ordinary in the water that would force them to re-inspect their familiar surroundings. Max Werenka regularly carried his GoPro with him when he wandered the popular holiday resort. On this particular day, he was chatting to another family staying at the lake when they spotted an unusual shadowy figure under the surface of the water and asked the teenager to take a look with his GoPro. What he would find would shock them all. The guests told him that they had noticed something shiny lurking at the bottom of the water, which only made the teen even more eager to investigate. There was no way that he was going to leave without getting some answers, and that's exactly what he did. Every summer in British Columbia, Canada, Max Werenka and his family spent their time at a small but popular holiday park called Griffin Lake Cabins, which was once owned by Max's family. However, in the summer of 2019, Max and his family came face to face with a decades-old mystery. Werenka lives for an adrenaline rush. He has a love for sledding in the mountains and anything with an engine. The outdoorsy daredevil teenager loves hunting and fishing, but he had no idea that his adventurous nature would help him uncover a truly mind-blowing secret. You could see something almost like a shadow, like an imprint, the Canadian told the Washington Post. But what was possibly lurking underneath? Werenka had a sinking feeling that something was very wrong. This wasn't just a rusty boat that had sunken to the bottom of the lake. After noticing the strange reflection of what appeared to be shiny metal, 13-year-old Werenka pushed his paddleboard closer to the mysterious object and jumped into the lake to begin his investigation. Upon reaching the spot in question, he shockingly discovered that the mysterious glistening object was in fact a car. In an interview with the Washington Post in September 2019, the teenager describes how he got closer to the object. He could see something shiny reflecting back at him, and then he realized that he was looking at an exhaust pipe. As he carried out a further inspection, he could see he was staring at a car laying upside down. The teenager's discovery of a car at the bottom of this remote lake sparked a lot of questions and concerns for the residents of the holiday park. The teenager and his family began to do research in order to find answers as to why the car was submerged beneath the lake in this quiet corner of Canada. Werenka and his family did an internet search to find out why there was a car submerged beneath Griffin Lake. Interestingly, they learned of an accident 10 years before where a car had crashed into the lake, during which 4 people were rescued. The family were satisfied that they had an explanation for the sunken car and assumed the vehicle was related to the accident back in 2009. We researched and there had been an accident in 2009, and we initially assumed it was the leftover vehicle from the people that were rescued, Nancy Werenka told Today, but she would be very wrong. She just didn't know it yet. What's even worse is that Mrs. Werenka had no idea she was about to embark on a dark journey that would unravel a horrible secret. The day after the teenager's discovery, an off-duty police officer and his family visited the resort. Max's mother, Nancy, was chatting with the officer when the topic of the previous day's findings came up. She mentioned how it was strange that the car was never retrieved from the water, but the police officer was sure that the car from the 2009 accident had, in fact, been removed from the lake. On August 21, 2019, a team of officers showed up to the lake to carry out an investigation into the mysterious vehicle lying beneath the water. 13-year-old Werenka played a key role in the investigation with his first-hand account of what he saw, but also with the evidence he provided with his GoPro. The teenagers led the officers to the area that was about 10 feet away from the western shore of the lake that hugged the highway, but there was an obstacle in the water that would prove difficult to see for everyone except for the teen. Werenka and the officers took a boat out to the vehicle in question. However, the water conditions were murky, which made it too difficult for the officers to inspect the car from the surface. Determined to get answers and, of course, evidence, the teenager helped the officers gather clues by diving into the water with his GoPro, capturing clear footage of the car. The teenager bravely dove under the muddy water to help authorities answer their questions surrounding this mysterious motor. The video, which has since been released online, captures the car lying with its wheels facing the sky. But why was this car here, and who did it belong to? The video footage captured by the brave 13-year-old showed a car covered in a thick coat of mud and vegetation. Marine life had even begun growing inside of the car, so it was obvious that the vehicle had been submerged in the water for quite some time. So how did it end up at the bottom of the lake? 3 days after Max Werenka provided the authorities with video footage of the car, investigators began their search for answers and brought in experienced divers to take a closer look at the car. What they would discover would shock the residents of Griffin Lake Cabins and reopen an unsolved case after almost 30 years. Once the divers were in close proximity to the car, they first took note of its registration plate, which provided major evidence for the case and linked the vehicle to a 27-year-old missing persons case. Apparently, the car was registered to Janet Ferris, a 69-year-old woman who was reported missing by her family back in 1992. Ferris's case had surprisingly never been solved, and her family were left in limbo about her disappearance for almost 30 years. The mystery of what had happened to Ferris had haunted her family for decades, but they never imagined that a boy born 14 years after her disappearance would finally close this cold case for authorities. But first, the vehicle had to be raised. The police returned to the scene a few days after, and they didn't come alone. They brought a tow truck and a dive team to help them raise the sunken vehicle from the watery grave. Little did they know that a gruesome discovery was about to unravel a decades-old mystery. As the authorities pulled the water-damaged Honda Accord from the lake, investigators noticed a key feature that would piece together the mysteries of the case. Interestingly enough, the car did not look as if anybody had tried to escape from it, as all of its windows and doors were closed shut. It was very shocking. We weren't expecting anything like this, Nancy Werenka told the Washington Post. The residents of this popular summer resort had no idea that a 27-year-old mystery lay beneath the lake they so often leisured on. However, the discovery of the car wreckage wasn't the only thing that would shock them, as the story took another gruesome turn. When the teenager first saw the car emerge from the water, he noticed that the doors and windows were shut, so he immediately wondered about what had happened to the driver. And soon, all of his questions would have an answer. Tragically, the mystery behind this missing woman's case was solved as investigators found the remains of a body inside the car. After a forensic examination, the evidence proved that the body belonged to Janet Ferris, who had gone missing 27 years before her car was accidentally found by 13-year-old Max Werenka. According to Ferris's family, Janet had been traveling alone across the country from Vancouver Island to Alberta to attend a wedding when she disappeared. However, with the lack of cell phones and instant communication that we have available to us today, it was a while before Janet's family realized that something was wrong. 2 weeks after the wedding that Janet was supposed to attend, her family received a call wondering why she had never shown up to the event. To the family's concern, they reported Janet missing to the authorities. The Canadian teen's mother told the Washington Post that back in the day, the road near Griffin Lake was narrower all those years ago. It didn't even have cement barricades to keep cars from driving into the embankment. Otherwise, the Ferris family would have had a mother and grandmother for many more years. As the authorities couldn't provide an answer to Ferris's family as to why she hadn't come home, the family came up with their own theories for their loved one's disappearance. According to Janet's son, the family assumed that perhaps she had veered off the road while falling asleep or crashed, trying to avoid hitting an animal. Ferris had vanished off the face of the earth. If the family had known she had passed all those years ago, it would have been easier to cope, but they didn't have any of the answers. All they knew was that there was no trace of her, and her car was never found until now. Her son, George Ferris, 62, told CTV News that remembering the good memories of his mother was what helped him and the rest of the family get through their grief. After the first year, you just carry on, he said. You come to live with it. I think the worst thing was not knowing, Ferris's son told CBC, but now that her body has been discovered, he and the family were finally able to move on. Given a sad situation, it's the best of all outcomes, he added. Ferris's son told CBC that his mother's last known location was at a gas station in Salmon Arm. After she had disappeared, the entire family joined the police and rescue teams in their search across the highway, but nothing ever turned up. Given the fact that she was 69 when she vanished all those years ago, the family knew that they would never see her again. They also accepted that she had passed away somewhere on the highway, but they didn't know how until now. The gas station was over half an hour's drive from Griffin Lake Cabins. That's approximately 40 minutes from us, the Canadian teen's mom told People. That was the last trace of her. Other than that, they don't know where she was from there to Alberta. Since the discovery of Ferris's body, her family have spoken about their grief and how fond memories of their mother and grandmother helped them to cope through the years. The family has since expressed their appreciation to Max Werenka and his family for finally giving them the opportunity to lay Janet to rest. According to her son, Ferris was cremated and placed next to her husband, who sadly passed away back in 1984. Now the family will finally be able to move forward and put the past behind them, while keeping the memories of their loved one alive in their hearts. But the teen's mother can't help but feel for Ferris's family. "Oh my gosh, I was just a lump in my stomach for the family," the teen's mother told CBC. "How do you wonder where a family member is for 26 years and not know what happened to them?" Although the Ferris family was relieved to have learned the truth, Max Werenka's mother weighed in on the situation. "I am just sad for the family. They are happy and relieved knowing what happened," she told People, and added, "This has given them some closure, I hear. I pray for them and am sad for what they have went through." Although Ferris's body was found at the bottom of the lake, authorities found nothing to indicate that her untimely passing was a result of foul play. If anything, it was just a case of bad luck, which resulted in a very tragic story for a beloved lady. In an interview with Global News, Janet Ferris's granddaughter shared how grateful she was to the teenager and his GoPro for revealing her grandmother's whereabouts after all of these years. For 27 years, her family struggled to put the past behind them until the day a 13-year-old accidentally brought them the closure they needed. "It seemed like there was never an appropriate way to grieve because she was missing. I remember thinking about what her last moments would have been like if her car did go off the road," Ferris's granddaughter, Erin Ferris Hartley, told Global News. Meanwhile, the teen's mother couldn't be prouder of her boy and felt that he was destined to help authorities find Ferris. "It was a complete string of flukes," she told People. "It was like it was meant to happen. It just all aligned." Werenka can now call himself a leading figure in the solving of this mystery-old case. As a result of his courage and impressive camera skills, the teenager earned the respect of the authorities and even landed himself a job offer in the future with the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. According to the authorities, Ferris may have swerved off the road to avoid an animal, which caused her to veer into the water, unable to escape. Interestingly, the previous owners of Griffin Lake Cabins spent 17 years exploring the lake but never came across the submerged car. Werenka's mother told Today that Ferris's family may come to the lake next spring or summer to meet the boy who found their missing loved one. There will undoubtedly be plenty of hugs and thanks coming this young adventurer's way in the not-so-distant future. Meanwhile, the teen might have a future in law enforcement. The RCMP will probably be looking at this guy down the road for potential employment. Corporal Thomas Blakely told CTV News. Good detective work on his part.